Hello guys and welcome back to Big Brother, and today we have got two crazy episodes waiting for you, and we have got so much to discuss. We've got a major falling out between two of the housemates, we have a brand new head of household with super secret powers, and we've got our first round of player nominations, which means they're going to be heading into the diary room and choosing who they want to put up for eviction. Lots of crazy stuff is going to be happening in this episode, so make sure you're seated for the Big Brother recap. Let's go. So we're going to start talking about the rule breaks first. The rule breaks were a very interesting part of this episode. It took up a lot of the start, and I have to say, I don't think the rule breaks were all that bad, personally. I find it a little bit frustrating that we're still sticking to the whole I don't want them to talk about nominations thing. I think it's far more interesting when you let them talk and you don't let them, like, basically just let them say what they want to say. Obviously, if it's a bit crazy, then it's fine. But, like, I don't know. I feel like there'd be so much more drama on the show if they allowed people to talk about nominations. I just think it would be more interesting. And, yeah, that's just how I feel. I just think it's a wasted opportunity to have, like, the central premise of the show you're not allowed to talk about. You're not allowed to talk about who you put up for nomination. That just seems a bit pointless. I think still have them go into the diary room and then just leave it up to their discretion whether they want to say or not. I think that should be how it is, personally. But it is what it is. The rule breaks were Lily and Days. They had to be chained to the staircase overnight, and they're to sleep there. And then Emma and Nathan and Ali and Baked Potato were called out in the morning for what they said at eviction night. And interestingly, they decided to punish the whole house by turning off the hot water for 24 hours, along with the bedroom appliances. So the punishments weren't that bad. We have seen worse. We've seen people go straight up for nomination before, which is kind of crazy. But it is what it is. Not really much you can do about it. Let's move on. So the head of household competition was interesting. I don't know how I feel about the fact that it was kind of just like musical chairs with like musical spots. It was a little bit boring, and we didn't get to see the whole of it play out, which is a real shame. We just cut to like the final three after like two people went out. I was like, oh, okay, that's a bit boring. But yeah, it was the case, and we ended up with Izaz, Days, and Khaled in the final three, and then Days went out, so it was just those two. And then they made the housemates like choose between the two of them, which I was all for, and I was like, that's fine. But my issue with that was that it just felt a bit redundant doing the whole activity if, like, you weren't going to play one final round and have someone win. It was like, oh, who does your housemates like? Who does your housemates like better? And I just don't know whether that was like a good idea or not. It just seemed a bit meh in my opinion. But the majority of the house, most of the boys and like one girl sided with Khaled, and then the other side had all the girls on it, and Dean, I think Dean was on that side. I can't remember. It's been a couple of days since I watched that episode. But either way, that means that Khaled is the new head of household, and him and his followers, I guess, won themselves a party that night, whereas everybody else had to sit up in the mezzanine. And I gotta say, that did cause some drama. So we're going to talk about the Ali and Khaled situation. It was a little bit crazy. It was a little bit kooky. But during the party, Khaled came upstairs to talk to Ali and was basically, well, not talk to Ali specifically, but to the group up there, going, oh, like, don't call me head of house. Like, it's just a role that Big Brother's put me in, like, etc., etc. And then he was like, oh, I just don't want there to be a divide between us down there and you guys up here. And they were like, oh, no, don't be silly, don't be silly. And Ali's sitting there, and once he's gone, she's like, I want to say something, but, like, I don't want to say it. And so Lily went, I'll say it. He's fake. And I was like, huh. It's like that How I Met Your Mother moment where you have that realization about someone and then the glass shatters. I was like, wow, actually, now that you say that, that conversation was incredibly forced. It didn't need to be said. This is literally not the end of the world. You won head of house. Okay, cool. That's fine. You want immunity. Good for you. You don't need to be coming up here and being like, oh, I feel really bad for you guys. I feel really bad. Because as she pointed out a little bit later on, is almost like he's not feeling bad, but he wants us to think he's feeling bad. And I was like, that's actually a very, very good point. And then there was also the point of the fact that he said that he has never watched Big Brother before in his life. I don't think that's true. I don't believe it. I don't believe it for 1 second. What do you mean you've never watched Big Brother before? What do you mean you've never seen a clip of the show? Like, I feel like I need more clarification on what you mean. Because why would you come onto a reality show and you have never seen it before? Did you not do your research? Did you not at least watch like a couple of episodes of last season to just see what you were going to be going through? Or did you just come in completely blind? Because if you did, that's incredibly dumb. Why would you go onto a reality show without any idea of how it works? That just seems dumb. Sorry. So I think Ali's got some very good points about him. And Khaled was like, I feel like there's bad vibes. And then Ali went and came and talked to him later and was like, I think you're fake. And he's like, I'm just nice. And I was like, yeah, you can be nice, but you can also be fake. Do you know what I mean? Those two things can coexist. And I think it's really important to note that Ali is a forensic psychologist. This is her job. Some people on Twitter are trying to discredit her, etc., etc., but this is her job. She does this for a living. So if she's living 24 hours a day with this guy and she thinks he's fake, she's probably right, or she's probably sniffing out something that we're not seeing. So clearly we shouldn't be like putting her down. Oh, how dare he say that? How dare she say that? Etc., etc. Because we're only seeing an hour a day. She's living in there 24 hours a day. She's seeing everything. And she's gonna be psychoanalyzing everyone. Who cares? That's exactly what her job is. She's used to it. And this is the perfect time to do that kind of thing. This show is psychoanalyze central. It's crazy. But the killer line that she delivered when he was like, oh, I just didn't want you to feel bad about the party, was like, she was like, what? A 10-minute party in a fake house? You think I care about that? And he was like, oh, well, I'm sorry then. And he kind of reverted back to apologizing and trying to smooth the situation over because he realized that he was actually just making a big deal out of nothing with the whole apologies for the party thing. Because, like, who cares? Big Brother throws them parties every 2 days. I don't think most of them could actually give 2 fucks. So, interestingly, we did learn a little bit more about Shegan and Hannah, and most specifically about the fact that they are both virgins, which I found very interesting. I found that to be something that I didn't expect about them, especially Shegan. He does seem very genuine and very lovely. I do think that there is a little bit of a performance about him, especially when Lily walked in and he was like, yay, yay. It did just feel a little bit forced, but I'm liking the fact that I'm getting to learn a little bit more about him, and I like what I'm learning about him. It's opening him up a little bit more to me. But on the whole, there's not really much I've got to say about that. I just thought it was an interesting thing to bring up and have a little discussion about. Right, guys, it's the first nominations of the series, and that means I've got the book out, and we're going to be going through each one by one. And we're going to start with Nathan. Nathan decided to nominate Sarah and Izaz. Sarah because he feels like she is the least genuine, and she also just spends no time with him, which I find fair. Izaz, apparently he's boring, and according to Nathan, he says a lot without saying anything. And honestly, I kind of get that. That's what I've seen from Izaz so far. I was a little bit surprised that he received a vote from Nathan, but it is what it is. That's the game, and that's how it's going to get played. So with Hannah, Hannah picked Ali and Lily as her picks. Ali because apparently she hyperfixates on her when she's talking to her, and it's a weird thing where she constantly feels like she's being analysed and interpreted and things like that. But with Lily, it's because she picks her nose and eats it, and she has disgusting habits, which I have seen a couple of clips of, and it does make me feel a little bit ill. It does make me feel a little bit like, what? But yeah, not much you can do. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a very, very fair and valid reason from Hannah. I can't lie. Days was up next, and Days chose Izaz and Dean. Izaz was another interesting one because, again, surface level chats and just boring combos is what she said. Like, there's no real connection there, which I found very, very interesting. And Dean, she just hasn't gotten to know him yet, and she's not part of his circle. She's not part of his, yeah, and vice versa, etc., etc. And I think that's, again, very, very fair and valid. I think it's a case of they just might not get along as people, and that's absolutely fair and valid. There's not really much you can do about that. Up next, we have Ali, and Ali decided to vote for Sarah and Shegan. I'm so surprised she didn't vote for Marcello after the whole incident in the smoking area, but she voted for Sarah because she feels apprehensive of her, and the fact that she feels a little bit prejudged with the fact that, like, Sarah can be very sort of standoffish with her and doesn't really want to engage with her sometimes, which again is very fair and valid for a reason. Then with Shegan, she feels like he's holding back and playing a safe game, making sure he's filtered for the camera. He's not, like, doing anything that would paint him in a bad light, and she feels like she hasn't really gotten to know the real him yet. Speaking of Shegan, Martha also voted for Shegan, and Nathan. Shegan because, well, actually, they both had the exact same reason. They both don't apparently contribute to the cleaning. So I think that's fair and valid. I don't think you can really say much to that. That's absolutely fair and valid. You can't argue with that. So next up, we have Shegan. Shegan voted for Days and Lily. Days because, and this is going to come up a couple of times, he feels like Days manipulates people to forfeit tasks, and he feels like there's just a little bit too much game playing in her, which I think is bullshit, because this is a game. Play it. At the end of the day, if you want to survive, do it at all costs. This isn't a happy-go-lucky staycation. This is Big Brother. Get to grips with it. With the reason why he nominated Lily is because, and again, this was to do with tasks, he feels like her behaviour is unpredictable in tasks, and therefore could wind up losing them tasks because she's so unpredictable and she just does what she wants. I think that's actually the most fair reason out of everybody. He's thinking about, like, okay, we've got tasks coming up, we've got shopping tasks that we can fail, and we already know she got called out numerous times in the previous one, and there was 51 counts of failure. So how many of those were actually Lily? Next up, we have Lily, and Lily voted for Emma and Shegan. Emma because she feels like Emma is putting down Lily's experiences in life and being like, oh, well, you're young, you haven't had tough times yet. You haven't had tough times. Wait until you get to my age, then you've had real tough times. And Lily feels like she's kind of discrediting what she's gone through. She doesn't want to open up to people because this is the kind of reaction that she gets. But obviously for a 20-year-old, she probably has gone through stuff that has really upset her and really traumatized her. And therefore, you can't really compare that to someone who's lived 53 years of their life. With Shegan, it's because she feels like he is worried too much about his perception, and she feels like he's putting on a character for the cameras. Which, again, is something that I mentioned earlier. I don't know whether we're getting to see the real Shegan. It does feel very much like a one-trick pony. We haven't seen much chat from him apart from in this episode. And I'm not sure how much more there is to know about him at the end of the day. So next up we have Dean, and Dean voted for Sarah and Days. Sarah because he feels like Sarah is a little bit of a shit stirrer, and she'll have conversations and then sort of not really give an opinion and try and mix it up between other people. With Days, he feels like she can't handle competition and therefore tries to sort of get other people out of competitions by doing certain things. And, like, again, this is the same thing that, like, Shegan had said earlier. I don't agree with it. I think that the manipulation is fine. It's a game. Get over it. This whole thing is, can you get to the end and win 100k? You're not going to get to the end by, like, losing these tasks. Do you know what I mean? I mean, yeah, obviously you can. But, like, I think she would rather win the tasks and do well than not win the tasks and be like, oh, well, it's fine, because that's not probably what she's like as a person. Next up, we have Emma. Emma has voted for Izaz and Lily. Apparently, Izaz is irritating and she just doesn't get on with him. They're like chalk and cheese. She finds him boring. There's just no chat there. With Lily, she's just grinding her gears. And I understand that. I think Lily would be a lot to live with. I don't think that I could necessarily handle living with her. So I completely understand that. And apparently she's also very messy and very loud. And that's just a lot to deal with. Next up, we have Sarah. And Sarah is voting for Ali and Nathan. Now, the Ali vote confused me a little bit. But then Ali did vote for Sarah. So maybe it doesn't really surprise me. But Ali, she feels like the conversations are one-sided. They're not very interesting. They don't really, she doesn't really feel like Ali gives a lot back to the conversation. And with Nathan, I think she said something along the lines of like, why doesn't he want to laugh with me? And I was like, I don't know. But it's interesting that Nathan also nominated her as well. Up next, we have Izaz, and Izaz voted for Lily and Days. Lily because she's loud and she's just too much to handle, which again, fair. And Days, it was the competition thing again. I didn't appreciate how much of a problem that was for people. I don't think it is that deep. She's not a game player. She's just playing the game. Like, it is a game at the end of the day. This isn't a reality show where it's just like, oh, we're just going to easy breeze our way through to the end. It's not like maths where like you're in it for a cash prize. That means you win something. So surely you've got to play in order to win. Baked Potato voted for Thomas and Ali. Thomas because she'd just rather be in somebody else's company. She just doesn't find it very interesting and doesn't think that he adds much to the house, which absolutely fair and valid. He's the most boring one there so far. He's done fuck all. And then we have Ali. Ali, she just feels like she doesn't open up to her when she wants her to. And also, she causes drama in the house. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, why would you, as somebody on this show, want to remove somebody from the house that is causing drama? Because surely, you know they're making good television. Surely you do. Why would you want to remove the person who's making the television for good for us? Because that's what Ali's doing at the moment. She's so entertaining and I love her. I love her so much. I need her on my screens every single day for the next 6 weeks. Okay? You hear that, baked potato? I also want you there as well. But, come on. Up next was Thomas. Thomas decided to vote for Days and Lily. Days because she feels like... No, he feels like she is a game player and a chameleon. She can change her attitude and her personality based on the environment that she's in, whether she's in the house or whether she's in a game. And he thinks that that's dangerous. God, the pronouns are just not pronouncing today. Jeez. Up next, we have Lily, and he just feels like Lily is not interested in talk at all, which, fair enough. Lily and Thomas just probably don't vibe with each other. They did at the start, they don't now. That's fine. They found their clicks. That's all good. The next person, and I cannot believe that he had the cheek to do this, but Marcello decided to vote for Ali and Days. Ali because he feels like she's walking on eggshells. No, he's walking on eggshells around her. And this was the real clincher moment where I went, oh, this man is just the worst. He said something along the lines of, I don't want her in the house because she could call me out on stuff. And I was like, huh? So you want to be around a load of people that you can do horrendous things and no one will call you out? Right, okay, that sounds healthy. That sounds really good, I can't lie. With Days, he just has clashing views and vibes, and there's not really much you can do with that at the end of the day. That's a fair vote. And then last but not least, we have Khaled, who voted for Lily and Ali. Apparently, Lily walks away from conversations with him and burps. And Ali, well, I thought that was a very obvious nomination. Of course she was going to vote for him. I feel like if Khaled hadn't been up for nomination, Ali literally said, the one person I want to nominate, I can't. And I was like, rah. Fair enough. So after all that, Lily, Ali and Days were put up for nomination, but Khaled could choose whether he saved and replaced another contestant or whether he put somebody else up in as well as those four. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, Khaled, you have the opportunity, right, to show that you are genuine, you are lovely, and that you're not playing some kind of game. And he decides to use a killer nomination, and I'm like, okay, fair enough. And he's like, okay, I've taken into consideration the people who were up last week, not putting them up. I was like, okay. I've considered the people who are in the storage room. Right, okay. And I'm considering who I'm close to. Right, okay. So I've picked Martha. And I was like, huh? excuse me? What? In what world was Martha the person that you jumped to? That doesn't seem correct. And this is what caused a massive argument for the rest of the night. Days and Nathan were at it. I don't even know what they were arguing about at this point. I think Nathan kept on cutting her off, and so she got pissed off at him. And then they went outside and have another Barney. And then Ali had to come out and mediate between them. But then Ali was also having an argument with Nathan. And it was just like back and forth, back and forth. And I was just like, oh my God, this is long. This is so long. I can't keep up with all of this. But equally, I do agree with Ali. She's said many times, I don't hate you. I'm just expressing my opinion on you. And you're trying to vilify me and make me look bad for saying how I feel in a situation. And it's just making me dislike Khaled even more. He keeps on bringing up, I'm 23, I'm 23, I'm 23. Okay? Act like it. Right? So we're almost out of time, which means I've got to run through these funny moments very, very quickly. Lily was cutting up some chicken. Absolutely horrendous. Never let her near food ever again, because they're all going to get ill 100%. We had Shegan and Thomas talking about how Nathan looks like Lord Farquaad. That was hilarious. We had Martha scaring Sarah, which had me howling. I had to rewind and watch it again, and now it's on a clip on my phone. Brilliant. And then last but not least, we had this iconic line from Ali at the start of the second episode, Monday night's episode, and she said something along the lines of, I hope he stops with all those speeches. It's good for climate change because there will be less hot air getting pumped into the atmosphere. And that is what we're going to leave on our note today. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed, and make sure to like, comment and subscribe. Do all of that YouTube stuff that you guys do so well. But until then, keep on ranting, and I'll see you guys later. Bye now.